Welcome back. It is Braves Central. Don't forget to like, share, and review this podcast. And it's a celebratory podcast because throw the streamers, sound the trumpets. Chris Dimino, the Braves are over 500. The second time. It's a huge day. It's a huge day.
I heard how big it was. I hope we have a sound effects man to stick some trumpety horns on this when all is said and done. And here's the good news. With an off day today, because we are recording this on Monday morning, there's no chance that they actually fall back to 500. We're going to spend a whole, Sunday night, Monday night, that's 24 hours. And there's going to be like 40-something hours where we're going to be above 500, and nobody can take that away from us.
Well, I mean, I'm going to go pop champagne outside today. It's my wedding anniversary, but I think this is like a huge development. I don't know if it's bigger, but it's pretty huge.
What's today's date, by the way?
May 19th.
Mine's in 3 days.
Oh, okay.
I would have remembered.
Maybe. I barely remember.
Yeah, but during this week's series at home. And then the Padres come in this weekend, which I'm looking forward to. Listen, I told you, I love watching games in Boston. I love night games in Boston. I think on TV, it's the best-looking building, maybe in America. I'm not really sure there's a better-looking venue. I think Colorado, you know, if you talk about the mountains in Los Angeles, you talk about the mountains. But I'm talking about self-contained. I don't think there's anything better than Fenway. So while the result on Saturday night was pretty terrible for a number of different reasons, I kind of do like watching night games in Fenway. Even yesterday with a day game, it sort of feels a little, I don't know, off-putting. It's to me, the analogy is the band that plays during the day on a festival. You go, I got to be honest with you, I can't get overly excited about a band that's playing in the sunlight. And I sort of feel that way about certain parks, and Fenway is one of them.
Well, yesterday, the product on the field was I think, the most refreshing thing we've seen in a long time. Season high in runs with 10, a season high, or tied a season high with 10, tied a season high with 16 hits. This is Matt Olson is back. Drake Baldwin is still doing his thing. Eli White was awesome yesterday, really throughout the series. The bats have finally woken up, and look, we had gotten to a point, and we said this on the podcast, we said on the pregame show, the locker room said it on 680 The Fan, the flagship for the Braves. Bench Matt Olson for just a day or two. Let him reset.
I would just said let it end. The streak to me doesn't mean anything.
Well, I'm glad we didn't do that. I'm glad they don't listen to us, because he got his power stroke back. I think it started last week in batting practice when he was going oppo consistently with a purpose. And, you know, that coupled with the Green Monster, where he, everyone's kind of got eyes on it. I mean, it worked out well for Matt.
So when they're in the building tomorrow, Tuesday, to start this home series, this home stand, I'm sure he's going to be asked. He was probably asked this weekend. Maybe he talked about it, maybe he didn't. But it's going to be interesting to see if there was a physical change. You know, we had talked about after he hit the home runs. I remember hearing in spring training, I'm still working on some stuff. I said, you just hit 54 home runs. Greg Maddux one time in West Palm Beach, it was the last year in West Palm Beach, and he got a box. Like, I happened to be sitting in the locker room. Back in the old days, there was a lot more time in the locker room and a lot more guys would sit in it. So you'd have conversations. So he got a box. Some guy sent him something that was colored dots, and you'd had where will the next dot appear and where was it and everything else. I said, brother, do not do this. I don't know if you saw the movie The Jerk. I said, everybody has a great idea until it just wreaks havoc and ruins people's lives. And Maddux looked at me and said, no, man, I'm willing to try anything. And this is a guy, remember, who got LASIK surgery during the season. I think at one point he got LASIK surgery during the season. I'd be like, no way. I'm not doing anything. That guy was like in the middle of his 4th Cy Young Award campaign. My point is, it'll be interesting to see if Matt Olson talks a little bit about tinkering, physical, did he do something? What was he looking at, a film? What did he think it was? I don't really think that's something that you get into on the road. I do think there might be a possibility over the next, week or so that we might hear Matt Olson talk about it, especially if he continues to hit the way he did anything close to this weekend.
I think that just judging from what I saw, and I want to dig into this, not today, because this is my first off day in 17 days, but the swing plane, just to see how long the bat stayed in the zone, because I'm just willing to bet that it stayed in the zone a little bit longer.
Yeah, listen, with pitchers, to me, the overlay is a real thing. Arm angle is a real thing to me. Where you are on the mound is a real thing. Where you finish is a real thing. I'm not telling you can't see some of that stuff with hitting, but I find it a little bit more difficult to understand if I was looking at. Now, look, if you tell me side by side, I see a bigger loop. I see a guy whose hands aren't quick. I see a guy whose hands behind. I get all that stuff, but I've always thought the pitching thing, if you put them side by side, hitters, it's a little bit more difficult because there's such a subtlety. And remember, every pitch's in a different place. So if I look at two swings and I go, oh, wait, that was a change up here, but this is a change up here, of course the swing is supposed to be a little bit different if you're actually going to try to attack the baseball. So, yeah, I think he would be the one to tell us. And if somebody in the analytical world wants to tell me that they did the side-by-side and they looked at the film, that's fine. Maybe I'll believe you. Maybe I won't. But I think at some point this week he might open up a little bit about what he thought. Remember, look, these guys know before anybody. Before Tommy and Smyrna and Billy and Decatur, they know when they stink. Or they know when they're struggling and they're about to stink. They know when they're about to snap out. And when it's not just lip service, they do kind of know. Like whether it's my legs were feeling terrible, they feel good now. My legs are back. My hand was bothering me a little bit, now it's not bothering me. I get all those things. I just want to hear what he says, big picture overview, as to if anything was done differently. And look, I will say, I do agree with the BP thing in this regard. I've watched a couple of guys over the last couple of years where I go, that doesn't look like a normal BP session. What are they working on? You know, Freddie Freeman was the first guy to say, I do it the same way every day. Line drives over the shortstop. Line drives over the shortstop. And then when the game comes, I adjust, and if I get a pitch in and I can drive it, I drive it. But I've seen now what I think over the last couple of years is guys don't play long ball BP. Nobody cares if you can hit BP home runs unless you're just having some fun with your teammates. But I do think I noticed, I told you about Michael Harris that one day where he played Mamo. And I'm kind of curious to see if he thinks that there might have been something even during BP that might have triggered either a eureka moment between him and Tim Hires or him by himself. I think it'll be an interesting story this week.
Yeah, I do too. What is also an interesting story on the offensive side is Drake Baldwin. You know, we saw him start the final two games, which, okay, you know, sometimes catchers do that, but a catcher starting a day game after a night game, especially a rookie catcher, to me further proves that this is no longer a 4-1 scenario where Drake gets once every fifth day.
No. This is not a Trump. This is not a Trump situation.
Yes.
This is not the guy gives the other guy a rest. Or, you know, I've seen it where you get the backup catcher is assigned to one pitcher. They work together well, and that'll be his game.
The Eddie Perez method.
Yeah, it's not that at all. And I'm going to tell you, it is crazy that Sean Murphy's broken rib might have been the thing that unlocked Drake Baldwin. Well, I know it is. It's the thing that physically unlocked him being here. Now, he's played well enough, especially after, a 1-for-18 start where he didn't bury himself. You know, nobody buried him. He didn't bury himself, which will tell you, you know, I've always said the catcher's got to be your most alpha dog in the building. And if he's not, you got the wrong catcher. When you go 1-for-18 and the world is sort of looking at you, what do? Well, nobody expected him to be a big offensive piece, so at least it wasn't an expectation where you had to feel bad. But he pulled himself up, and he legitimately, look, I don't know what he's going to do for next week, next year, and the next 10 years, but he looks like a player that's built to be an everyday player. Behind the plate, there's probably still a few things. Calling a game, there's probably still a few things that he has to work on. But if a guy looks like an everyday player as a 24-year-old, there's a chance he's an everyday player. It doesn't mean I know the level of what success will be, but if he carries himself, coming after a 1-for-18 slump, and he's earned his way back into more time, not less. Those are all good signs.
And at this point, look, I hate Rookie of the Year discussions, MVP discussions in May, but I think if this continues, you're going to see him get into a lot of those conversations come August, come September, because, I mean, look, there's no doubt he's the best rookie in the major leagues by far this year. And Spencer Schwellenbach, I think, the rebound that he's had, and we talked a little bit about this on the pregame show on Sunday. It feels like, and you look at some of these pitch types or pitch usage charts, it feels like he's become less of a pitcher or less of a thrower and more of a pitcher, because now it looks like he's understanding scouting reports even more. He's going to the mound with a very specific purpose against a team like that he has studied more than maybe in the past, where he's just trying to find his way through and relying on his stuff. This, to me, that performance on Sunday is further proof that he's, I think, in my mind, the best pitcher on this team, even when Chris Sale has bounced back. I mean,
I don't know if
awesome.
I'm going that far, but I can tell you that if there's a problem, how do you fix it? Is it a real problem, or was it a one-day problem? Was it a two-start problem? And, you know, the thing with him now is if one of those off-speed pitches doesn't come out of the bullpen with him, you still have got to flash it. Now, don't flash it like we saw the other night, Pierce Johnson to Devers. He said, I hung a curveball to their best hitter. That is if he's the best hitter, there's a good chance that he's going to make you pay for that pitch. With Schwellenbach, I just think what it is if you see their first pitch hunting on you, what are you going to do about it? Well, let me actually throw something out of the strike zone. Let me try to establish a strike zone. And I do believe that while umpires are graded, and I think the day and age of you're a 10-year veteran, you're a first-year guy at the plate, 10-year veteran always gets the call, you can't be exposed as an umpire by letting guys get away with that. But I do think once you command a strike zone and you show that you can pitch to quadrants, you're going to get more benefit of the doubt. And I'll tell you why. In my opinion, one of the things that's not talked about is how quiet is your catcher? You know, tall catchers have been a little bit problematic for umpires because they're trying to get a better angle, better see. If your guy is quiet, and they do teach quiet back here, they don't want you – look, we tried stealing strikes, and I guess everybody's still doing that. But there can be a point where you just go, you're robbing your pitcher because there's too much movement. The umpire might go the other way. If you can actually pitch to quadrants and you're hitting targets, you will get more calls. I don't know scientifically, I don't know mathematically what the numbers will tell you, but I do believe that umpires get into a rhythm just like a pitcher can. And if you make it easier for him, you get more, not less. If your catcher makes it difficult for him, I think there's a chance you're getting less, not more.
Moving forward to the National Series, they go a few miles down 95 to Nats Park. And we talked about last time they were here, the Nats, it's an easy way to get fat. It's an easy way to get things going. We're not going to go down that road because this Braves team has, even though what we saw yesterday was fantastic and we're all happy now that they won 2 or 3 in Boston, they're still not a reliable team. You know, yes, they looked like the team that we expect to make the playoffs yesterday. That's one game.
Oh, yeah. Look, you're a 500 baseball team. You've got problems. Your bullpen was a little bit more than exposed on Saturday night. But I'll also tell you what was different yesterday is you added on runs. You know, you had 5 in the third inning. You put one more up in the fourth on Saturday, but you didn't beat anybody in a submission. Yesterday, you beat somebody in a submission, and that's what we really haven't seen. That game was – they could have had anything. They could have done anything they wanted out of the bullpen by the time that game got out of hand.
Yeah.
So if you have a couple of those, it makes life easier for you. Washington's sort of a pain in the ass, as Dave Martinez told me when they were just here. We've got to figure some things out in the bullpen, and we're a young team. We're teaching up here.
They've got some dudes.
Yeah, base running errors, though, happen. Guys coming out of the bullpen and not having their stuff, and all of a sudden it gets extended 2 more batters instead of actually throwing a ground ball double play pitch. So they've got their stuff. They're a team that the Braves are better than every which way. They're not ready to win consistently yet, but that doesn't mean they can't beat you on a given night. You know, I keep telling everybody, you don't have to win 9 innings to beat a better baseball team. You might have to win 2. You might have to win the runners in scoring position number. You might have to go take, what Verdugo did on a base pass and what he did in the outfield. This team has played too many one-run games to have that happen too often because that's how Washington or anybody else beats you. You get thrown out at the plate by 28 feet. You throw to the wrong base, which sets up another run and sets up an inning getting extended. That's how a team like Washington will beat you. Now, here's the good news. They could be the ones doing that, and they make it easier for you to beat them. Because, again, as Martinez said, we're doing a lot of coaching up here. We do a lot of talk with these guys about how to play Major League Baseball. They know how to play baseball, but they got to understand that if that guy on second base is fast, thrown to the plate and giving that guy who come up with a base hit, which should be a single, to get him standing on second base is not the way that you're going to win when your margins aren't very big.
Strider starting on Tuesday, and I think there's this he's not going to go throw a no-hitter. I just want to see him throw 90 pitches, maybe into the 5th inning. When we talked to Snit last week and when we talked to Strider last week, the goal was specifically stated, I want to see Strider get to 85 or 90 major league pitches. In the simulated game, the goal was 70 to 75. And I think he got to 76, actually. I can't remember exactly
they control the up and down in that situation. How much time on the bench and, lefty, righty, what you want up against them.
but they want to get to 80 to 85, maybe 90. And look, as long as it's that, totally fine with it. And really, if you go back and look at his start against Toronto, yeah, he gave up the one home run, but he was kind of around that number anyway to begin with. So I don't think we need to expect more. Look, I want to see the velo. I think everybody wants to see the velo, especially after, hearing at the simulated game. And we saw the simulated game that he barely got to 96. I don't think he got to 96.
No, I think it was a couple of pitches at 95. But again, no juice, nobody in the building. He was working on off-speed stuff, which I absolutely buy into the idea that you're working on that feel more than you're working on trying to cut it loose at 97, 98.
Yeah. And so, look, that's going to be his bread and butter, I think, because if the off-speed is where it should be, I think the velo will be there. I believe them, too, that he could let it rip. And he even said, I could let it rip in a bullpen session. I believe him. So if he's got that feel back for his off speed, it's going to be real dangerous.
Yeah, I think pitch conservation, what's his control? We saw a game the other night. You took a pitcher out after 99 pitches because he had 4 walks, and it might have been 5 strikeouts, and you couldn't let him go out for another one because he was at 99 pitches. I don't think that's a concern with Strider. I think there was going to be a decision made conservative as opposed to the other end. If he's done with an inning at 81, do I send him out for another batter? Maybe the matchup is one that I do it, but I got somebody warmed up in the bullpen because I'm not letting him get into that cycle of, wait, we just went from 81, which was comfortable for us, to 95, and there's 2 men on, and now I got to get somebody fired. I think as soon as he closes in on 80, somebody's up in the bullpen. It'll be interesting to see if they send him out to start an inning or not.
I do think with Strider, he's very cerebral. He knows his body very, very well, and he's not afraid to talk to people about it, right? A lot of pitchers say, I'm good. I can keep going. I think Strider mentally and physically will know his limit and be vocal with his limit.
Well, he's got to be mature then, because he did it with the hamstring, and it turned out to be longer than he would have liked and anybody else around here liked, but he knows that he can't get, and I say this all the time, when you come back after missing a year, that year is gone. If you've missed 12, 14, 16 months, you don't get to go 6 for 4 at the plate. You don't get to throw and pick up 3 wins in one game. And I do think that while he might be itching to get back on the mound, there does have to be that idea of, I'll let you know if everything is okay. And I do think that he's probably that guy. The one start probably bothers him more than anything this year because, as he told us in spring training, you don't rehab to make a start. You rehab to make all your starts. Yeah. And I'm sure this just absolutely crushed him. The fact that it's now May, whatever it's going to be on Tuesday, and all of a sudden this guy says, I'm pitching in my 2nd game this year. This was not the way it was drawn up, but that's the way it happened. So let it go. Pitch Tuesday's game. Don't pitch any other game. Just pitch the one that you're in. And I do think that he's smart enough to know that should and will be the case.
We'll see what happens. 3-game series with the Nats coming your way. And, of course, the return of Spencer Strider on Tuesday. We'll have all of it covered on the flagship 680 The Fan and across the Braves radio network for leadoff show before every single game. Little early starts out there in Washington, which I don't mind at all. But it'll be a nice way to sort of see if we can keep this momentum going and become the team that a lot of us thought we would be all year long. So, it's fun. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see Strider. We'll see if he gets the job done. This has been Braves Central. He's Chris Dimino. I'm Barrett Sallee. Like, share, review, all of that stuff that you do in the podcast world. And we will talk to you later in the week.